There are so many people who have tried everything: diet, exercise, supplements, all these alternative therapies. But what if trauma was the missing piece to your healing or your weight loss journey? Stay tuned to today's episode to find out more. Welcome back. My name is Sarah. This is the Sarah Kleiner Wellness YouTube channel. And today I have a conversation with my friend Irene Lyon that I think is very, very important. There are so many people that are really struggling with weight loss, with chronic illness, with all these health issues, and they're really trying hard with diet and exercise and supplements and testing, and they're just exhausted. What if this piece was the missing piece to the puzzle in your healing? Well, Irene Lyon is a great friend of mine, and I've taken all of her courses. I've been on her channel multiple times. She's been on mine multiple times. And I really wanted to have this conversation to share this information with you about trauma healing, the nervous system, and how this can affect our body's ability to release weight, to heal from chronic issues, and to heal our metabolism and our bodies overall. So this is an Instagram live conversation that Irene and I had on February the 16th, and I wanted to share it here with my YouTube family. So I hope that you enjoy it. All of Irene's programs are going to be linked in the show notes for you. If you hear this and you want to try some of her programs, she has a lot of free content as well on her YouTube channel if a program is not in financial reach for you right now as well. I also wanted to let you know my quantum nutrition course is now available. This is a nutrition course that actually teaches you what sort of dietary strategies to use if you have a specific condition that you're looking to heal. It teaches you how to eat with the seasons, eat with the sunlight. We talk about the relationship of sunlight and food, how our microbiome actually changes in the winter time versus the summertime, how our hormones change on this 12-month basis, and how you can best tailor your nutrition, leaving the dogma behind, leaving the diet labels behind, but use specific strategies to help your body heal and feel your best year round. So this program is on an introductory price right now. It's significantly lower than it will be on March 15th when it goes full retail. If you're interested in getting that quantum nutrition program now at this lower introductory price, go ahead and click that link down in the show notes for you, and it will take you right to the page. So thank you again for listening to today's episode, and I really hope you enjoy it. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Hello, everyone. Surprise live. I forgot to announce this. I'm going live with my friend Irene Lyon today to talk about the nervous system, to talk about trauma and how these things can actually impede our weight loss. So I'm going to wait for Irene to join, but just wanted to let you guys know, hello everyone. Thank you for coming on and watching today. Just want to let you guys know everything that Irene and I talk about, her programs, all of these things are going to be linked in my bio. I actually just created a little link this morning. If anything that we are talking about today resonates with you, I've done all of Irene's programs, highly recommend them. Good morning, hello to everybody joining. Gonna wait for Miss Irene to ask to join the live stream. But if you guys are not familiar with Irene Lyon, I highly recommend checking out her programs. I have done all of them, like I said, and this could be a missing piece for people who are really, really, really searching. Someone asked if I'm staying hydrated. Yes, I am very hydrated. Thanks for asking. But you know, all of her programs are fantastic. Good morning, everybody. I'm just waiting for Irene to ask to join the live stream. I know she is a little bit new to the Instagram lives where other people are starting them. So there she is. I see she just joined. So we're gonna wait. There we go. I'm gonna bring her on. James is good. Thank you for asking. Let's see. Accept. There she is.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning or good afternoon for you.
Let me get my volume turned up.
There we go.
All right.
My phone is not going to fall down. I think we're good.
Yay.
Look at you. Your hair looks amazing, lady.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm still waiting for everyone says you lose hair at 4 months postpartum, but that hasn't happened for me yet. So
No.
fingers crossed. It won't happen.
You've got
I
the
have a little to
mane.
spare if it does, though. I'm not super worried.
Yeah. No, you got lots. You're good. Hi.
Hi. Thank you for being here. I'm so excited to talk about
Yes.
this. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
What have you said so far? What should we start with?
So what I basically said to everyone while I was kind of waiting for you to come on is that we're going to talk about some of your healing modalities, why people may have been trying everything, maybe they're having success, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's this one component I feel like is really overlooked with people, and that's the nervous system and healing trauma when it comes to things like weight loss.
Yeah.
Something as simple as that to as complicated as maybe an autoimmune condition.
Yeah.
This is being completely overlooked, I think. And I let everyone know I've done all of your programs. I love them. You have some amazing free content as well. I linked all of that in my bio. If people are like, I want to learn more about Irene or follow Irene here. But yeah, let's
do it.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Well, how do I start? Because it's such a big thing. I'll just start with a real quick, we could almost say fact. It's a piece of scientific research that is still ongoing, and it's called the ACE study. I know you know what that is, but what that stands for, ACE, is Adverse Childhood Experiences Study. And actually, you mentioned weight loss. Mm-hmm. So I think it might be interesting to just give a little history of this research and how it connects to really, I would say, the seminal data that showed us that adversity growing up, trauma, stress, broken families, addiction, mental illness in the family, if not healed at the nervous system level, will create some form of illness later in life, in adult life. And it was so conclusive that they basically were like, this is the biggest problem in Western world is child abuse. Mm. And what I'm going to add there, because there might be a lot of people here who haven't been, it's going to sound strange, but abused in the formal way that we might think child abuse is, being beaten, being screamed at, not enough food, being ridiculed, parents who are always fighting. It also can be early birth trauma. Mm. It can be in utero trauma. It can be intergenerational trauma. So the stuff that was never healed from our lineage, pretty much everyone. Mm-hmm. I think you and I, Sarah, were in the same age bracket. Mm-hmm. Not many in our ancestry did what we're doing to heal ourselves.
No.
No. And that doesn't mean that they're bad people. It's just the information wasn't there. Right. So the ACE study was actually stumbled upon accidentally in I think it was the late 80s. There was a health initiative in California with a whole, thousands of people within the Kaiser Permanente, which is a health insurance company in the United States, I believe. And what they were doing is they were helping individuals who were obese. Mm. So high levels of body fat, obviously metabolically unhealthy. And they're like, let's put together a comprehensive program, which actually was quite comprehensive for that day and age. If you think late 80s, nutrition, lifestyle support, diet, of course, exercise, counseling, everything that these people needed to do behavior change, to shift their body weight. And it actually started to work. People, were losing hundreds of pounds and actually getting quite healthy. But then what was interesting, what the researcher, Dr. Vincent Felitti, saw was that there was a lot of people just dropping out of the program. They disappeared. And they're like, where did these people go? They were doing so well. They were engaged. What happened? And, long story short, over time, they tracked the people, the dropouts, and, questioned them, thousands of them. And what they realized is a lot of them losing weight, losing the excess fat from their body was a threat.
Wow.
Because it served as a protective barrier.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
And so this is very known for females and males who've been sexually abused and assaulted. If I make myself really unattractive, and not, and I know this is controversial now, but if I make myself not look appealing in the norm, I won't be attacked. I won't be abused. What's
Wow.
also interesting is when we have had a lot of trauma and stress and adversity, and you know this because we've learned this in Smart Body, Smart Mind, we disconnect from our body.
Yes.
We disconnect, we dissociate. We don't have an accurate perception of what's called our internal environment, our interoception, fancy word, but the perception of internal environment. And what happens is the receptors, even in our stomach, are kind of numbed out, just like someone might not have perception that their heart is tight, holding in tears, or their throat is tight, holding in words and expression. If there is not enough sensory feedback in the stomach due to deep shutdown of the nervous system, a person is just going to keep eating and eating until the stomach is so distended and so stretched that then they go, oh, I can finally feel myself.
Wow.
And so this is where we think a lot of overeating comes from, because we want to feel ourselves.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'll finish that thought. So they realized, holy cow, this is really weird. It just never was considered that those that had abuse would keep on body weight for the sake of protection. And so we kind of know that that is a thing. But what they then did is they kept studying this and they kept studying this. And their first set of people, I think, was like 18,000 people. That's a lot of people for an epidemiological study. And what they found, because they had, a subset of people across all ages, they knew their health history. Did they have heart disease, cancer, autoimmune, anxiety, depression, osteoarthritis, Alzheimer's, all, like, the list is long. And what they found is that when you had more adversities growing up, your likelihood of getting sick got higher and higher and higher and higher.
Wow.
And so, the ACE study now is, in some ways, some people ridicule it because it doesn't include birth trauma. It doesn't include environmental toxins. I'm like, I get it, but at least it was a start. It's a huge start.
Yeah.
And so when some people say, why bother heal the nervous system? I'm healthy, I eat well, I get lots of exercise, I have a healthy body weight. I say, well, knowing from my experience, if you don't work on these stored survival stresses, traumas, adversities, and the fact that your body is living in some form of fight, flight, and freeze, which, by the way, can look very functional in our day and age. We can mask that we are freaking out. And we can do that because of our higher brain. We're masterminds at pretending to be okay.
Yeah.
So when someone asks, why the nervous system? I say, well, the research is pretty conclusive. And when you're living under this form of stress, life is just a lot harder and the system eventually breaks down. So that is my beginning spiel. What else? Ask questions. What do you think? What comes to mind for you?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much, because, and I really want to have this conversation and spread awareness of this, because, like I said, I'll have clients and I'll have people and they're like, I am, they're struggling with all sorts of issues. A lot of people, they're frustrated with weight loss, but besides weight loss, they have a lot of other health issues, but the weight loss they think is the big thing. But they're not able to lose the weight, even though they're doing everything. And I'm like, your nervous system is probably in need of some help, right? A tune-up. You've got a 21-day nervous system tune-up. But can we talk a little bit about what that looks like physiologically, so people can understand, like, I'm having, if someone is having issues just with something as simple as weight loss, how this nervous system component could actually be slowing down their entire system, right?
So, of course, it's multi-factor based, because I just mentioned the food, right? So while it's not about counting calories, there's a point where if you are taking excess to the point of it not being good, it's going to add, fat tissue onto your body. Your body will store it.
Right.
So so in terms of weight loss, I'm gonna back up a bit. So as a definition, our nervous system isn't just one system. We have our central nervous system, which is our brain and our spinal cord, and then we have a peripheral nervous system, which is all the nerves that come out of the brain and the spinal cord. And most people know fight, flight, and more people now are knowing what freeze is. Those fight, flight, freeze responses are part of the peripheral nervous system, part of the autonomic nervous system that is within the peripheral nervous system. Now, the thing that's important to understand is that the autonomic nervous system also governs all of our autonomic physiology. So the water that I sip goes down, it does its thing. It's hot, I sweat. That's a natural response. A lot of your people like the sun. You go out into the sun, your eyes don't stay dilated. They go small because there's so much light. Hormone release is also determined. Sleep-wake cycles also determined. I think this is where circadian biology and quantum health marries so well, because it's at this level. Hunger cues, like I said, sleep-wake cycle cues, immune system. But the other thing with a nervous system that has a lot of sympathetic, parasympathetic, fight, flight, freeze, so I'll just say that, when the survival mechanisms are like this, I'm using my fingers, like going, 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 it's like the system is so concerned with survival that it's like we can't take care of digestion.
Right.
We can't take care of the immune system. We can't take care of your hormones. We can't take care of your temperature regulation. A lot of people complain about being too cold is usually the common one.
Yep.
Some people do have excessive sweating, and that's also a sign of the system being off. I don't have the energy to get my heart rate up to go for a walk. Like I want to, but I just can't get going. A lot of we would call them neurological disorders. I don't like that word, but are related to this, something called POTS, which is
sadly. I get a lot of POTS people.
So POTS, sadly, it seems to be getting more rampant.
Really, I don't know what's up with that, but I've been getting more POTS people lately than
I have a hunch why, but we'll leave that to the side. But POTS stands for postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. It's a fancy way of saying if Sarah, if you and I were to get up and start doing like aerobics from the 80s right now, our heart rate would go up, right? Yep. Our blood pressure would go up. The perfusion of the blood, it would go to the muscles so that we can work. Someone who has POTS, their system is so dysregulated that the signal of increased heart rate, increased blood pressure, get the blood flowing, get it pumping, it doesn't happen. And so I often put POTS, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, chronic pain, a lot of autoimmune. Usually someone just doesn't have one thing when they have what we call this syndromal representation.
Yep.
But really, at its core, what is happening is there is high cycling with fight, flight, with high cycling of freeze, so sympathetic, and then this freeze response of the parasympathetic. And the system is literally in like gas on, brake on. It's like a car. Like you're trying to drive an automatic transmission with the e-brake on. You're not going to go very far, right? And so what occurs is that there's just no energy. And so what do people who struggle with weight loss often say? I just don't have any energy.
Yeah.
I don't have the motivation to go for a walk. I don't. And there is some behavior. They really are tired. Yeah. And some people will say, well, just get off your lazy butt and move.
That drives me crazy.
I hear Joe Rogan say that a lot. I love him for a lot of reasons in his podcast, but he'll say that. I'm like, you need to understand this, Joe, right? Yeah. And it's right. Sometimes maybe it is laziness, but for the most part, it's a physiological response that is saying to that person, protect, hide. Yeah. The world is a dangerous place. Don't go out there because you might get eaten, quote unquote. But I'm going to bridge this back to the ACE study because it's important. If a child was brought up in chaos, where mom and dad, let's say, were always fighting, or where there was abuse, or there was one parent who was so tired because they were doing everything and they had no energy, no connection with you because they were just in their own survival responses, that little person is going to be like, this world is stupid, right? I, I don't like this, and I'm going to, and they don't think this, Sarah.
No,
They,
no.
they're like, I'm going to do whatever I can to protect myself. Some kids become mischievous, like they'll be problematic and they'll act out. Other kids, mostly I have seen, they become the good kid. They become quiet, they disconnect.
Yeah.
They stop engaging not only with humans but the world. And so if you were brought up in that soup of of adversity and stress, and you do nothing to realize that that's the fishbowl you've been in,
Right.
using another metaphor, right? You will be an adult not knowing that your connection and your what's the word I'm looking for, your experience of the world isn't really accurate. It's accurate, but it's not how it should be. And so this is where people then stop connecting. They don't go out. They're afraid to go out. And just that in itself, that lack of activity, slowly shuts the metabolism down.
Yeah.
And we've even seen it with people doing more ordering in, shopping online, working from home.
Yep.
The way in which we used to commute and carry our groceries.
Right.
And it just, even a person who's trying to be active isn't getting the same amount of activity that, say, our parents did when there was no delivery.
Right.
Right.
Right. Right.
Other than maybe the Chinese takeout you got once a month because that was a treat. You know, it just,
yeah,
everything gets delivered.
Yeah.
So to go back to your question, full circle, like how does weight loss, how does trouble losing weight connect? It connects in this multifactorial way. It's not just about protection, which I mentioned at the top. It's about not being able to move to the degree that we can, and that's not just cognitive, it is physiological.
Yep.
And then the other thing is when the system is in this deep fight, flight, freeze, those organ systems, the cleaning pathways, the detox pathways, they're just not working. And so, you know, the cell repair isn't happening. It's a fancy word, but the barrier keeping of the gut. I know you probably know what that means, but it's where the gut is being stitched up at night.
Yeah, because we have
and
to
getting
have
strong.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is driven by the rest digest cycle. And I also know, as I'm learning through you and carrying melatonin, we need that hormone for recovery.
Have it for repair. Yeah.
If we don't go in rest digest sleep, now this is one thing that gets confused in a lot of the influencers who aren't trained in nervous system science. They'll say we need rest digest. It's like, yes, that's true. But if you are stuck in the branch of the vagus nerve that puts you into shutdown, the rest digest is never going to flick on. It's just going to keep you in freeze while you sleep at night, and your body isn't going to dip into that deep repair state. And over time, think about a 5-year-old that grew up in chaos. Youth is on our side when we're young. You know, we do have a bit more of that vigor, the hormones that come with youth. But if we don't repair and recover slowly, the system just loses layers of health and vitality over time. And so we need that healthy rest digest and all the amount of sleep hygiene in the world. Now, of course, not being in bright lights is important, right? And the things that you teach. But I bet that there are some folks who do all the right things. They wear their blue blockers. They have, you know, all of the things. And then they go to sleep and they're wired. And there's something in their system that is saying, danger, danger. And we're not going to let you sleep, because if you do, you might get attacked.
Yep. So that's exactly why I wanted to bring you here, because I have these people and they are really giving it their honest effort.
Yeah.
You know, they're doing the blue blockers. They're not eating too close to bed. Yeah. They're, you know, eating nutritious diet, and they're really just honestly giving it everything that they have, and they have seen some improvements, right? So it's not all for naught. I mean, they've absolutely seen some improvements, but they're just at a point where they're like, I cannot lose this weight. This, you know, health issue that I have
has improved,
Yeah.
but it's still lingering around.
Yeah.
Everything I'm throwing at it, supplements, biohacking, it's not budging. And so, like I said, that's why I want to bring you here, because we have to continue to create an awareness around these things. Number one, I think people need to get this information. And then two, to not feel like they're so maladjusted that nothing is going to work for them. Because I think there's a lot of people, especially, I think 2020 kind of fast forwarded a lot of these nervous system issues. And so I'm getting more and more and more people with multiple autoimmune disorders, right? Like, yeah, a lot of people want to lose weight, but multiple autoimmune disorders, POTS, the gut issues, like you mentioned, because people are not getting, we know in circadian biology, we talk about in circadian biology, the fact that the gut lining repairs in our sleep, right? We got to have that deep restorative sleep, but people are not getting that necessarily because of this nervous system component. So what do we do?
Yeah, what do we do? Well, what I'm gonna just mention, the 2020 thing that you said, because a typical analogy I'll give is you'll have someone whom gets into an accident. This is important to make this reference. One person A, I often call them, gets into a car accident. It's really minor, nothing big. They walk away and they really are fine, right? It's like just a bit of a nuisance that they have to deal with insurance, maybe, right? Person B gets into the same minor accident, no broken bones, no whiplash, nothing. But person B walks away and they're a mess. They are afraid to get into their car. They can't sleep that night. And then over the course of days and weeks, they slowly start to develop what we would call chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia. Their gut starts to go off. They start not wanting to be in contact with people. They start to lose their focus. And I've worked with people like this, where you're like, that was such a small accident. And of course, the insurance people are like, we're not going to give you anything because you didn't break anything and your car is fine. So clearly you're okay, but they're not okay. And it's because, Sarah, their system was filled with so much survival stress that they had no clue that they were walking in that fishbowl toxicity. And then it's an event. Usually it's grad school. I've worked with lots of people who are doing like PhDs, and the stress is so high and their system just breaks. For some, it might be a natural disaster in their home. For some, it might be war. For some, it might be the loss of a loved one or loss of a dear pet, and that just breaks the system. So what occurred in 2020 for those that weren't really already solid in understanding how their body works and being able to accurately perceive real danger versus perceived danger versus theoretical danger, their systems just went into more survival. And then what do? We either go one or two ways. We go into more hypervigilance and anxiety and, oh my God, I got to do stuff, or we shut down. And I don't know how many people I heard and saw who basically decided to just let themselves go during that time and not do anything. And, a little bit of a party and, chill out, rest, don't work. I think a lot of people needed that. But then there comes a point where you have to kind of get back on and ride the horse, so to speak, and do the things. So that was interesting to me, because I think what you said, what you're seeing is the after effect. It's the fallout of people not realizing how dysregulated they actually were pre-2020, even though they were meditating, doing all the juicing, doing all the dieting. There still wasn't, and to use a term that I got from Kate Kavanaugh, one of our mutual buds, their topsoil wasn't healthy to bring in the regenerative farming thing. So this is to answer your question, what do we do if we didn't get good topsoil growing up? And I'm using that as a metaphor again for regulation. If our environment was chaotic, if mom didn't have the capacity to co-regulate with us in a healthy way, I mean, you're doing that right now with your new one. It's like, imagine if that baby didn't have someone to talk to and to be with and to pick up when he cries and when he's hungry, and he was just left in a crib to only be fed at specific times of the day. holy moly, it's torture
Yeah.
for a little one, right? And so that co-regulation when we're young, and then when we start to become walking, talking toddlers where we're being crazy and rambunctious and asking questions, and like that has to be met with, wow, look at how great you are, and let's play, but also let's learn boundaries and learn right from wrong, all the things that humans have to learn. That's building our topsoil. That's building a rich, robust foundation so that when we become older, when we go to school and we get the bully that's a bit mean, or we see, you know, if we fall and hurt ourselves off of the swing set or whatever it might be, or mom has a stressful day and she's not exactly attuned. If you get that first foundation when you're growing up, you have more robustness later in life. That's what the ACE study showed. Now, someone's maybe going, well, Irene, I'm screwed. I didn't get that. You know, I didn't get that healthy co-regulation from an adult who was solid and secure. And I say, yeah, you and probably not many other people in the Western world. Right. It's very rare that I've met anyone, Sarah, living in Western society who is fully regulated without having done the work.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, if they exist, I would love to meet them, but I haven't met anybody like that yet. Even people that came from solid homes.
Yeah.
Because the school system, the education system, the medical system, it messes with us.
Yeah,
right?
There's no immunity from trauma. I mean, everyone's had it. You know, some of us, it's like way more obvious.
Yes.
But you know, if you've ever had a medical procedure, if you've ever had anesthesia, if you know, if you've ever been put under, it's just
one of my biggest traumas was when I was 5, I had a tonsillectomy, and the layers of that response to the nurse being so mean to me, and I remember it, but the colors are less vivid, which is good. It shows I've broken through those layers. It was terrifying, and it was because I was alone with her. And if it wouldn't have happened if my parents were in the room.
Right.
But a 5-year-old kid alone with this nurse, and she handled me. She basically abused me with a needle, right? She stuck a needle in my butt to sedate me, and I still remember crying and screaming. Oh. And then I went under in that energy.
State. Yeah.
And then you get anesthetized with high survival stress, and then this is what creates a surgical trauma. Right. Anesthesia trauma. So that's a whole other topic. But yes, I had healthy, good parents. You know, they didn't know that happened until recently. And I told them, and the look on my mother's face was just like she didn't know what to do because she couldn't do anything about it. Yeah. So, so what we need to do is we need to remember that neuroplasticity, which is the capacity for us to change and grow and learning is the key here. Because a lot of people will say, I need to heal myself, and that's true. But for humans who didn't get that solid, robust foundation, it's about learning. It's about relearning how to be with your body, how to be with the environment, how to track that you even have a body, how to track that you have a stress response, how to track and listen to your needs, your impulses, like the baby. When the baby's hungry, you feed the baby. Right. When the baby's hot, you get them some air. You take some clothes off. When they're cold, you bundle them up. If we didn't get that, our base level regulation was never fully, you know, wired in a good way. So as a mature adult, we actually, and this is what we teach, what I teach, we teach you to rekindle, to get these, to regenerate these impulses, to get back the connection with self, get back the connection with the environment. Yeah. Right. A lot of people go outside, but they're not connecting with it. No. A lot of people exercise to death, but they're not even connecting with the feeling of their body moving.
People are using exercise to kind of disassociate from the body. 100%. Yeah, and dieting, fasting, exercise, and all those things can have a positive impact on your body and your health. But if you're using them the wrong way, then
it's not, it's doing something, but it's not doing the best that it could. And I think that's what, you know, having been someone who grew up in the fitness industry, teaching people fitness and exercise and rehab, like sometimes, yeah, you just need to do a movement to get the joint
Right.
moving and range of motion. But there is this higher level of awareness that's really important. So we want to build back up these foundations, and that's of course what I teach. We want to build up higher level education. Of course, that's what we teach, because it's pretty complex. But when you get it, I think, and I'd love to hear what you've learned, Sarah, is like everything makes more sense because you understand through this deep lens of how our physiology works, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
The other thing I'll mention, because the biohacking world has become crazy about the vagus nerve, and it drives me crazy, crazy, crazy. The vagus nerve is important, of course. You know, we have it. It's part of our parasympathetic nervous system. It comes out of our brain. It's a cranial nerve. But it isn't just about the gut and the vagus nerve. It's about social engagement. The vagus nerve creates social engagement. The vagus nerve also creates freeze. And it's not enough to just tone and make sounds to stimulate the vagus nerve. Because if a person doesn't know how to feel and connect to that toning or that electrical stim that people are starting to use on the vagus nerve, it can blow your system out of the water. And I have had many DMs where people are like, I didn't have the capacity to do your paid program. And by the way, I have lots of free stuff, so that's not an excuse. So I went onto YouTube and I found these vagus retraining nervous system regulation exercises, and I got a reflare of my IBS, and I haven't slept in 30 days. And they're like, what's happening? And of course I go, I'm so sorry. You know, what happened is your system didn't have the capacity to process that stimulus. And yes, we want the vagus nerve to have healthy tone, and we want it to have lots of capacity. I'm using my hands now, but if your capacity is this small, and I'm not going to do this, but you try to fill water into this tiny little bucket, it's going to overflow.
Right.
You need more space, and then you put the stimulus to charge something up a bit, and then it might be able to flow through.
Right.
It's like you would never ask someone who's never walked 10 miles to go run a marathon.
Right.
You wouldn't do it.
No.
Right. And so it's the same with this thing. And I think what is occurring, Sarah, and I know you believe this, is the medical system has taught us problem, let's fix it with a thing. Procedure, a pill. And I'm not against pharmaceuticals when they are appropriate.
Right.
But what has happened is we've been conditioned to think problem with the body, let's fix it with one thing, and then we don't have to think about it. And I want it to be quick. And anybody that's been in the world of fitness, nutrition, mindfulness, human relations, it isn't just one thing. It's like with your baby James, you're not going to attune to him for just 1 hour a week.
No.
I mean, you probably get more sleep, but but it's ongoing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in many ways, I think that's what's so great about having a newborn baby is you see they need constant attention, constant and but but then it changes, right? They won't need that constant attention because you're laying those foundations now.
Right.
So as adults, when we get into this work, we're literally learning a second language. And it takes a little bit more practice, a bit more diligence, commitment at the beginning to lay these foundations down. And then with time, and with time I say a couple of years, this work doesn't happen in like a few months, but you get that robust regulation on board. And that is exactly what we're doing right now. We're registering people for Smart Body, Smart Mind, which is the program you did. It's a 12 curriculum, and it is a way to kind of do a jump start. Like we're going to be together, obviously online, for 12 weeks, 16 if we count the support that folks get in the site with our team. And we're just doing like a strong start of learning and practicing and having support and getting to know the system. And then, because I'm not someone who wants people to be dependent on me, you go off, you practice, you integrate, You keep working on the lessons on your own because it's your stuff to have. And then when we do another semester, another live session, you
Yeah.
come back
Yeah.
and you do a little bit more and you ask different questions because your understanding is different. And so I really, as much as I sometimes poo-poo the academic world, I do like the university model for being in a semester, you learning intensely, and then you go away and you integrate. You go and do a practicum, right? The way they used to do in university. You apply, and then you get another level, another increment of learning, healing, and then you come back and you do more layers and more layers. So that's a very quick overview of the how. Of course, the detail is much more than what I've said. The difference, I think, between, say, smart body, smart mind, and this level of nervous system rewiring is we're really getting into the organs.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
we learn about how to work with the kidneys and
That
adrenals.
work was
Isn't it?
huge for me. It was so
What do you
huge.
remember?
Well, I mean, I remember we chatted, I think, on your YouTube channel that I was struggling, and this was back in 2021. I was struggling with IC. So I was having this, I felt like I had to literally pee all the time. And I was already doing like a carnivore diet. I was like, I've taken all the allergens, oxalates, everything out. I've been, I had done oxalate detox a long time ago. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. When we hit that part in Smart Body, Smart Mind, when we worked on the kidney adrenal, it was almost instantaneous that IC was gone, that I was not feeling like I needed to go to the bathroom constantly, it's a really uncomfortable condition. I've worked with women who've had it. It's awful. And some men,
debilitating.
It's absolutely debilitating.
Yeah.
It's painful and debilitating. And I had tried everything dietary wise. I'd been to my doctor multiple times, gotten multiple medications. Nothing was working. And I didn't expect that out of Smart Body, Smart Mind. I was just doing it because I knew I was like, I need to do this nervous system work for me. But that work with the kidney adrenals that we did, it was like,
boom,
gone.
Well,
nothing short of amazing.
Yeah. And because it's a miracle, but it's not. I want to just explain it quickly. So the bladder, just like the gut, right? Just like the reproductive organs, the liver, the kidney, like it is governed by the autonomic nervous system. Fight, flight, freeze. So if there is, and you're a functioning person, it's not like you were not able to be in the world. Right. But let's just say there's some residue from your childhood and the things that you've endured and stress of life. So your system was a little ramped up and probably quite a bit of freeze holding it together as a mom and a wife and a business owner, as we do as women. And then that lesson goes right to the core of where adrenaline and cortisol release. And you're just bringing it down and you're bringing it down, and it's allowing the system to say, hey, I can take the guard off a little bit. And then the flow happens, because what's happening in that bladder is it's basically getting mixed messages. It's going through a contraction dilation situation, the same that would happen with a migraine headache, the same that would happen with IBS, where there's stopping and starting. And so it's very hard to describe it in one linear sentence, but all these things need good flow in the system. Our tubes need to go in the right direction. The flow needs to go in the right direction. And that sympathetic nervous system with the parasympathetic is going to say, we're going to screw you up a little bit and cause inflammation and pain. So yeah, the stress organ lessons are quite unique to this. And you can do that work privately with someone one-on-one, but trying to find a practitioner these days is next to impossible. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I just want to let everyone know that's watching. If you go to my bio, there's a link now for all of Irene's programs, free programs, as well as this 12-week program that I just talked about my experience with. Love it, recommend it. You're starting another 12-week program soon, right? Like in the next couple of weeks.
Even sooner.
Oh,
this time next week. So registration is open right now until the 21st.
Perfect.
For Smart Body, Smart Mind. We start with our orientation call on Thursday, the 23rd. 23rd, I believe. No, yeah, the 23rd. And then we start with the first lab, the first module on Sunday. So not this Sunday, but the next Sunday. And we typically run this just once a year. Last year was an anomaly. We did it twice. So if there is an inkling, an interest, I say to those watching, go to the site, Smart Body, Smart Mind, and don't do an impulse buy.
Right.
Like, read. Take
Before I did your programs, I had been on your YouTube channel for probably like 30 hours plus. So if anyone's like wanting to know more about your work and get your free content,
Yes.
go to Irene's YouTube channel. I mean, you're just going to start watching and then you're not going to stop. Like, it's like a
Bingy. I know it's weird,
very binge worthy, and you learn a lot just from the free content.
Yeah.
So I was getting so much value from the free content that I was like, okay, it's time for me to take the leap and do the 12-week, and it was the right time for me. So yeah, that again, that's linked in my bio if anyone's looking for it. And her YouTube, just go on YouTube and type in Irene Lyon. That's going to pop up.
All there.
But
it's all there. And what I'll also say, there's also some sampler audio exercises on my site if someone wants to get a little taste of how I teach. It won't give you the whole breadth of what would come into Smart Body, Smart Mind, because I can't ethically dive into the deep stuff. But there's some basic orienting, basic sensory awareness lessons. So that's a good way to start too. You know, just try one, and over the next couple of days, I'm going to be hosting some Q&A calls on my channel as well. So check out my stuff here on Instagram. Everything is linked in our bio. Call with some SBSM students is happening tomorrow, a panel with people who've been around for a while. I'm going to do a special one for coaches, healers, and helpers on Saturday.
Nice.
Because if you're in this world of helping people, you're going to want to know this information deeply for yourself and others, because it's just going to keep popping up more and more. We're going to,
absolutely.
You're right. We're going to do an early trauma call, early developmental trauma call on Sunday. That'll be on Zoom. And then I'll do a final call on Monday. So all that is on my links. It's, we'll be talking a lot. I'll be talking a lot over the next few days. So yes.
Well, I just thank you so much. And I, like I've said 100 times on this call already, I am such a huge fan of your work and appreciate what you do, and very grateful to call you a friend. Very, very grateful for that.
Yes.
So yeah.
Likewise, Sarah. So good to see you.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Well, thanks
everyone.
for watching.
Bye.
Bye.